A Republican and a Democrat end up as neighbors. Every single day, they have fights for their political beliefs in which they spiral out of control. As the years go by, they hate each other more and more. One day, the Republican, John, has a terrible car accident right in front of the Democrats' Mike house. "Mike," he yells, "come quickly, please. I am dying." Mike leaves aside his rivalry and rushes to help. "It's too late, Mike. Please, I have one final wish." "What is it, John? Tell me." "Contact your Democratic Party, and please write me as an official member in your catalog." As fast as possible, Mike grabs the phone and finalizes the process for John to be a Democrat. "Tell me, John, why did you make this choice now after all these years?" says Mike with tears in his eyes. John, with his very last breath, says, "Mike, one fucking Democrat less now, fuck you." It's the end of the 2016 presidential race. The people of the U.S. hated all the candidates so much that no one voted. The government is in a panic, trying to figure out what to do to decide who the next president will be. Finally, Barack Obama comes up with an idea: a literal presidential race. The three candidates would run a lap around the White House, and the one with the best time would become president. Bernie Sanders goes first, but being as old as he is, he takes 24 minutes. Trump goes next and posts a time of 14 minutes 24 seconds. Hillary Clinton goes last, running as fast as she can in an effort to beat Trump's time. She finally crosses the finish line in just under 10 minutes. "Ah, that must be some kind of record," she exclaims. "I don't think so," says Obama. "Bush did 9/11. So, I'm riding my Vespa the other day, minding my own business when this dog decides to cross the road. Absolute panic mode. I swerved to save the dog, lost control, and face-planted straight into a filthy roadside sewer. Classic. I'm dragging myself out of the sludge, looking like a swamp monster, when this gorgeous woman pulls over in her car. She rolls down the window and asks, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm literally shivering and stuttering. "Why, yeah, I'm totally fine." She smiles and says, "Look, my house is right around the corner. Come with me, wash up, get changed, and let me check you out. I'm actually a doctor. We need to make sure nothing is fractured." She was incredibly kind and stunning, so I couldn't say no. But I told her, "Look, I'd love to, but I'm telling you, my wife is going to be furious." The doctor laughs and says, "Don't worry about it. Just relax." We get to her place, I clean up the sewage, and she checks my reflexes and hands me a glass of fresh juice. I take a sip, smile, and say, "Wow, I feel so much better now. But seriously, my wife is going to lose her mind. I really should leave." She giggles and says, "Oh, stop worrying. Your wife won't even know. She's just sitting comfortably at home, right?" I looked at her and said no. Actually, she's probably still back there in the sewer. Three newlywed guys were sitting at a local pub, enjoying a few beers and comparing notes on how their household dynamics had changed since walking down the aisle. The first guy leaned back, took a sip of his beer, and bragged, "Listen, fellas, it's all about setting boundaries early. I married a girl from Iowa. Right after the honeymoon, I looked her in the eye and told her that from now on, she was completely responsible for all the cooking." The other two watched him gripped. "And what happened?" "Well, the first day, I didn't see anything happen," he chuckled. "But by the second day, a hot dinner was on the table, the kitchen was spotless, and everything was exactly the way I wanted it." The second guy nodded proudly, slamming his fist on the table. "Not bad, but you gotta be firmer. I married a girl from Minnesota. I told my wife straight up, 'You are now in charge of all the cooking, all the cleaning, and all the grocery shopping.'" "How did that go over?" the others asked. "The first day, I didn't notice any change," he said with a smirk. "But by the second day, the house was vacuumed, the laundry was folded, and she had completely fallen into line." Then the third guy leaned back in his chair, adjusting his sunglasses, and let out a painful sigh. "That's cute, boys. But I married a girl from South Dakota. On our first night in the new house, I laid down the law. I told her she had to do the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, the lawn care, and every other chore on the property." The first two men grinned, leaning in. "Wow, so what happened with the South Dakota girl?" The third guy slowly pulled off his sunglasses, revealing a massive, deep purple shiner, and whispered, "Well, the first day I didn't see anything. The second day I still didn't see anything at all. But by the third day, the swelling had finally gone down just enough that I could see a little bit out of my left eye." An American businesswoman was preparing for a 2-week work trip to Italy. The night before her flight, she was packing her suitcase while her husband sat nearby, reading the newspaper. As she zipped up her luggage, she smiled and asked, "Is there anything special you'd like me to bring back for you from Italy?" Her husband laughed, folded his newspaper, and said jokingly, "An Italian girl would be nice." She rolled her eyes, shook her head, and left for the airport the next morning. 2 weeks later, her husband picked her up at the airport. As they drove home, he asked, "So how was the trip?" "Wonderful," she replied. "The food was amazing, the people were charming, and Milan was beautiful." He grinned. "And did you bring me anything back?" She looked at him thoughtfully. "I bought some wine, a few souvenirs, and chocolates." Then suddenly she smiled. "Oh, you mean the Italian girl?" Her husband burst out laughing. "Yes, that's the one." "Well," she replied calmly, "I did what I could. Now we just have to wait 9 months to see if it's a girl." A man boarded a city bus on a rainy Tuesday evening and ended up sitting directly across from a breathtakingly attractive young nun. Completely enamored and possessing absolutely zero filter, he leaned over and asked her if she would be interested in a night of wild, forbidden romance. Naturally, the nun gasped in horror, clutched her rosary, and immediately got off at the very next stop. Desperate, the man walked up to the front of the bus and tapped the driver on the shoulder. "Hey pal, look, I'm crazy about that nun. You drive this route every day. Do you know any way I could convince her to be with me?" The bus driver smirked, adjusting his cap. "Well, as it happens, I do. Every single night at exactly 8 o'clock, she goes down to the old cemetery to pray alone in the dark. If you were to buy a glowing white robe, put on a big fake beard, and show up pretending to be the Almighty himself, I bet you could convince her of anything." The man thought this was an absolute stroke of genius. He ran to a costume shop, bought the most majestic god outfit available, and by 8 p.m., he was hiding behind a tombstone. Sure enough, the beautiful nun appeared, kneeling by a marble monument. The man stepped out from the shadows, threw his arms wide, and boomed in his deepest voice, "Behold, I am the Lord thy God." The nun fell to her knees, looking up in sheer awe. "Oh heavens, take me with you to paradise." The man cleared his throat righteously. "I shall. But first, you must prove your ultimate devotion to me right here tonight." The nun nodded frantically, but held up a hand. "I will do whatever you command, Lord. But please, to protect my holy vows, we must do it from behind." The man couldn't believe his luck. Within seconds, they were getting absolutely down to business right there in the grass. Loud, aggressive, frantic cemetery passion. The moment they finished, the man couldn't contain his triumph. He victoriously ripped off his fake white beard, threw back his hood, and laughed hysterically. "Huh, gotcha. I'm actually the guy from the bus." The nun slowly stood up, casually dusted off her habit, reached up to her neck, and pulled off her entire silicone mask to reveal a middle-aged man with a mustache. He chuckled deeply and replied, "Huh, gotcha. I'm actually the bus driver."